Hi friends, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to talk about the first movement drill that most of the business penmanship books start with, and that would be the direct oval. And it is a fundamental movement for muscular movement writing. If you're not familiar with the term muscular movement writing, feel free to check out the introduction video that I have made, and that should give you a good primer on the methodology behind the execution of this writing. I will be using the Champion method of practical business writing by Mary L. Champion as my guide. Today we're starting with the direct oval and the 4 immediate capitals that are derived from the movements, the rotational direction of the direct oval. Those letters are the letter O, the letter C, the letter A, and the letter E. Let's start with the oval drill in isolation. The oval drill is rather natural in sensation, and one of the things that's important about this shape is that it is truly an oval and not a circle. The push-pull drill is also tied up with the oval in the introductory chapters of every business writing book, and the two are actually related. I like to think of the two closely because it allows me to keep the true shape of an oval and not drift too far away from it. We have a couple of movements in isolation. We have the push-pull movement, so the arm is pushing forward and back. And then in isolation, the hinge of the elbow is another movement, and this movement goes from side to side. So the oval is a combination of these two. And so there's a combination of the push and the hinge of the elbow happening. It's a very subtle movement between hinge and push to create the sense of an oval. But I like to think of it this way because it helps me envision the movement, and doing this allows me to keep a truer sized oval rather than an oval that is too round or an oval that is too thin. If it's too thin, I know there's not enough hinge movement happening. And if it's too round, I'm overdoing the hinge movement. So there's a fine balance there. Okay, before we jump into some letters, I'd like to mention one thing, is that you're going to notice from the Champion handouts that I will show in this video that the drills that are shown always start larger. And it is specified in her book that you should initiate the drills at double the size of your normal writing. And if you recall from the introduction video, this is one thing that I mentioned. It's much easier to start off large and develop good rhythm, develop a good vision for the construction of each letter, to develop some familiarity with the movement of each letter. And then once you have some of that committed to procedural memory, to downsize the scale of your writing. And the downsizing will come naturally. Don't worry too much about that. It will start to feel more and more natural to write at a conventional size. So let's start with the letter O. A lot of folks find the letter O to be one of the more challenging capitals that is derived from the direct oval because the shape of the O is truly a perfect oval. And it is very easy to tell when there are mistakes in your oval, or there are any sorts of inconsistencies or crinkles in your movement. And so for that reason, it requires extreme precision. In Mary Champion's exercises, she does mention that there should be a strong sense of rhythm in your writing, and she highly recommends that you count as you're doing your drills. You want to count out loud on the downstrokes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I actually think this is an extremely important note. We should do our best to incorporate a strong sense of rhythm into our writing. And as a personal testimony, the most success I have ever had in my writing is when I am most in tune with a sense of rhythm. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 2. Oof. Yeah, so you can see that the letter O can often be quite difficult. But with enough practice, eventually you'll start to hit some consistent O's, and you will build some strong muscle memory for the direct oval in general. And with time, that will spill over into the success you'll have with your O. Just be patient and try to practice mindfully as much as you can. Check your position, check your posture, check your movement. I find a lot of times, sometimes as I'm moving down the page or I'm moving from side to side on the page, that my starting point is not ideal, and so I start hitting the limits of my range of motion. But all of these things, you'll have to get a sense of them on your own and make the sort of tweaks that are necessary for your own writing. Let's move on to the next letter. The C is another letter that is derived from the direct oval. It is another simple letter, has a nice tiny loop at the top, and then continues in a direct oval and exits outwards. There are some particular notes regarding the spacing of all of these lines, and I think this one drill exemplifies the spiral nature of this letter quite nicely. It's one that I have struggles with often. I sometimes have a lot of success hitting this letter, and then I sometimes have no success hitting this letter. And so it's just one of those that you have to practice and develop a strong eye for, so that you can understand where is it that you might be making your mistakes and where you need to make adjustments to improve the letter. Okay, the letter A is next. It is a letter that I feel really confident in and very familiar with. It's at the beginning of the alphabet, and so I do get a lot of practice working with the letter A. But the letter A is not quite an oval. The letter A in its shape is a lot more akin to an almond. And it's the only letter in this bunch that steps away from the perfect oval and also uses the push-pull as part of the motion for the letter. The curvature on the outside of the A is part of a larger oval. Now, all of the curvature in every letter of this alphabet is a derivative of an oval to some extent. But I like this particular drill that helps exemplify which part of the oval the A gets its curvature from. It's not a very easy drill to do, but I think these dotted lines are implying the trajectory that you should be taking prior to entering the A. This is somewhat of an advanced concept, but the trajectory of your pen prior to touching the paper and the trajectory of your pen after having left the paper is important. And so the dotted line here in this exercise is showing us as we exit the A, we should be exiting in this curved motion as if we are entering another direct oval. And then as we enter the A, we should also be coming from that same trajectory. And so this exercise where you leave the A and you travel into the next one is a good one to practice. It's not one that I'm any good at, to be honest with you, but having that vision of the letter and how you enter the letter and how the curvature of the A is influenced by that, I think can be useful. I have found it quite useful, and hopefully you find it useful as well. Okay, last but certainly not least, we have the letter E. It is comprised of two ovals, and I find this to be the most challenging of the bunch because of the transition from a smaller oval to a larger oval. Of course, when you actually write the full letter, you're not writing complete ovals, but to capture the correct curvature in both ovals and also to capture a smooth transition between the two, retaining a small loop can be quite difficult. The primary exercise here is starting with a smaller oval, transitioning into a slightly larger oval. And at double your writing size, these two ovals are close to your actual writing size. But when you scale down your writing to a more conventional size, these ovals can be quite small. And smaller movements when it comes to whole arm movement are the more challenging movements. Because we're using the gross motor coordination of the upper arm, the back, the shoulder, tinier movements are a lot more difficult. If you ever have an opportunity, try using whole arm movement on a chalkboard and discover for yourself how much easier it is to use whole arm movement when using larger movements. These last few exercises are meant to help you train the trajectory of your exit stroke from the letter. One of the things that can be most important in this style of writing is having a good flow. So to understand and to build some procedural memory for how you exit capital letters and would flow into lowercase letters is a good exercise. It's also important to get the spacing of your exit stroke correctly. You don't want it to be too tight to the body of the capital letter, and you don't want it to be too far away. So there's a delicate balance to be found there as well. So the last thing I would like to do for this video is just attempt to get these 4 letters as accurately as possible in succession to one another. And so enjoy my attempts